So a couple of years ago, I went on to Silver Rain Soul's Unchained Minds channel, or as we call him, Sav. And I had a debate with them, him and his whole panel over there about the subject of September 11th and, were real planes used, to hit the towers on that day. My position is, of course, obviously there were. Now as to the initial story behind them, where they came from and whatever, that's up for conversation, right? I don't have a problem with people holding different views about that, different conspiracies or different views as to, what happened or whatever, who's involved, who's not involved. All those things are open for conversation. That's all fine. But one thing I do find absolutely delusional and ignorant to make a statement of is there's a growing number of people on the internet, including Sov, who have came to the conclusion somehow that they think that no airplanes were used to hit the towers. It was just like CGI. So, whenever you see a video on the internet from September 11th, whether it be from, a news organization or just a civilian that happened to be recording, it's all faked, right? All of the planes were just edited in for like a agenda or something, and it just shows how people, are just so ignorant and brainwashed that they'll go to the extreme and say, hey, look, everything I don't like is just all fake and not real. It's like, it really is just so bizarre to me. Like, don't get me wrong, there's certainly some interesting theories and conspiracies regarding 9/11. I can certainly agree with that. But that doesn't mean that all of them are true. And the one I'm going to focus on in this video is the bizarre and strange theory that these guys on YouTube, these conspiracy guys, came up with to say, oh, well, there were no airplanes used. Well, obviously there was. I mean, anybody that says there wasn't, they're just clearly living in a fantasy world. It's just that's what it is, right? If you think no airplanes were used on September 11th, well, you're just delusional and brainwashed. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. So, without further ado, let's get into some talking points here. So, I did receive a comment that was put up on my debate with Sav by an individual named SKS, which I will read in a moment. But first, I want to ask a question. And I got a couple notes written down on my side here, just so I wouldn't forget a talking point. But for people saying that the planes were fake, which I haven't seen any valid argument or reason behind why anybody would believe that, all I've heard people say is, well, it was just all edited in, all just CGI, and, it was actually, explosives. But don't get me mistaken, before we move on, I don't believe the official story about how the towers fell. I believe the government was involved with that. I do hold to that belief. But that does not mean that real planes were not used. They were used. And anyone who says they were not, that's just an ignorant person. Now, we can argue about, were there passengers on it? Were they actually hijacked? Was it sent by the government intentionally? All of that is up for debate. All of that, those talking points, you can debate that. But we come to a whole nother point of delusional ignorance when we're going to sit there and say, well, I don't think any of the planes were real at all. I mean, wow, that is just, what a leap in logic, right? So it went from, oh, well, the government sent the planes, or the planes, that they didn't have people on it, to knucklehead saying, well, the planes were all fake too. It's like, wow, I mean, shit, what is it going to be next year? Were the towers fake too? Were the towers all fake too? Were they holograms? I mean, come on, we're getting to a point now where people are just too delusional and ignorant. But anyway, before I read his comment, let me go back to my question. So for people who say that the planes were faked, I got two questions for you. So are you saying that the thousands of civilians who recorded the plane on their phone, was that all faked? Because literally you could go on the internet and find thousands of videos from thousands of different civilians who happen to be in New York who captured typically the second plane coming in, because everybody had their eyes on the event after the first one hit. But there are a couple of videos that people show the first plane coming in. Like everybody's seen that famous video with the firefighters on the street and the cameraman, they hear a, plane low over the city, so he pans the camera and you see the first plane hit. So that's one of the famous clips of the, the first airplane. But there's a couple others out there that exist. But these guys, oh, all of it's all faked, right? It's all just not real. I mean, it comes a point when people are just not logically thinking anymore. Like, again, don't get me wrong, there are some true conspiracies. I believe in some conspiracies regarding 9/11, of course. I don't believe the official story. But that does not mean that no planes were used. I mean, if you think that, you're just, it's incredibly naive and ignorant to think something like that. So I'll ask the question again. If you say that all the planes were faked in CGI, so are you saying that all these civilians that captured this on their phones or cameras or whatever device they're using, because again, this is early 2000s, so whatever device they're using, I know Apple products, like the Apple phone didn't come out until 2009, right? So whatever phones that, or cameras they're using to record the event, you can't really sit there and say that all these people, they somehow got on the computer and edited all this footage. Like, sure, today in 2025 it's easy to do, but in the 2000s that is not as easy said, especially thousands of different people. And here is the biggest hit. Here's the biggest hit. Is if you are going to say that the planes were not real, well, how do you explain the thousands of eyewitnesses who witnessed it with their own eyes? Who, if you go up to them today and ask them about it, people who were there in the city and saw the planes hit, they could describe to you what they were doing that exact moment. They can describe it, right? It's like a PTSD that they have, so they can describe it perfectly. So, like, if it was all faked and CGI, well, what the hell did they see then? Oh, it must have been just some type of Project Blue Beam or something. It's like, come on, this is getting to be asinine. This is just getting to be bizarre. It shows the extreme people will go to just to defend delusion and ignorance. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just a clear example of ignorance of some people. A lot of people just believe anything they hear online and will fight to defend it, and I find that really sad and pathetic to me. Oh, and it's on, I have to mention as well, that Sav, when I went on to Sav's stream and debated him about the topic, I shown them a video of some people that were on like a boat down in the Hudson, and they saw the plane coming overhead, the second plane, and all the people, everybody was screaming and yelling, in unbelief as the plane hit. And they asked Sav, so you mean to tell me, Mr. Sav, that all of this is just like CGI and like edited in? Like, how do you explain the reactions of the crowd, right? They're like literally seeing this event, and acting fearful like any rational person would be in that type of circumstance. So I asked them, well, like, how do you explain that? If this is all CGI, the plane going overhead, literally above them that you can hear and see, and then see even connect with the tower. So what do you mean to tell me that all of this is fake? How do you explain the actions of the people? And the knucklehead literally told me, I kid you not, he said, oh, well, they all sound like a bunch of crisis actors to me. When I heard that, I was like, are you serious, man? You're going to tell me that all these random civilians that were just enjoying a boat ride on the Hudson, all of them are like crisis actors because they're screaming and crying and yelling because they witnessed a terrible, what they thought at the time was an accident. Like, I don't get how you can reason with people like this. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't get me mistaken. I can understand that in some instances, in some rare events, perhaps there could be one or two people that might be paid off to say a couple lines or something. I can understand that. But we're talking like a very rare thing. It's not something common that happens. Like, it's getting bizarre now. Like, people literally think like every news story you see, oh, it's all a bunch of actors, right? It's all just a bunch of actors on there, you know, that are being paid to say a couple lines or something. You know, it's just crazy, man. You know, it's just getting crazy to me, the way that these people think. So, without further ado, let's get to these comments that SKS put up on my debate with Sav. So he said, and I'm just going to read them to you. I can't put it on the screen. He said, there were no planes, though. Fully chained mind, even though he is a day damn devil demon. But hey, a clock is right. A broken clock is right twice a day. Sorry, ETT, but your arguments in this particular subject don't hold water. I mean, I find that to be incredibly naive and ignorant, which, fair enough, you are entitled to your own opinion. But think about this. If you watch the debate, my argument is that, well, first of all, there's thousands of civilians who recorded this on their devices. And then there's thousands of people, tens of thousands of people who are literal eyewitnesses of these things. And all they can do in response is say, oh, you know, it's just CGI and crisis actors. And you're going to tell me a Sav has a better argument, a more rational argument than my argument? I mean, sorry, SKS, but, you know, I do give you respect, but, you know, this time you're just delusional and clearly don't know what you're talking about. Excuse the background noise. I'm by a highway over here. But seriously, think about that. We live in a day and age where supposedly intelligent people will side with the knucklehead that's making a total irrational and retarded statements. Like, oh, you know, all the footage from thousands of people was all made up and fake. And all the people who were eyewitnesses, oh, you know, well, they're all paid off. All the people screaming and yelling, oh, well, they're all crisis actors. Like, seriously, how does a supposed truth or somebody in the know, like SKS supposedly is, how could he sit there and back somebody like that? You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, this is getting to be just really bizarre and strange to me how some of these truthers are, man. Like, seriously, if these guys turn on the news and see a local gas station was robbed, they would literally sit there and think that it's like a staged event for a agenda if they see the number 33 in the background on like a gas pump or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is how paranoid people are today. And it really is bizarre and strange. It really is bizarre and strange. So I sent a response back to him and I said, all right, I will ask you the same question. If no airplanes were used, how do we see the outline of the planes in the building after they hit? And why do we have hundreds of everyday people who managed to capture this event on camera? I think that's a very reasonable response and question towards him. Like, if you look at the footage from that day, you can see that where the planes went in, you can literally see where the wings from the plane were, where they went through the metal of the building, right? So if you're just going to say that it was like an explosive or something that was put there, well, how the hell did they get it to perfectly match how the airplane would look? Like, the two wings going into the tower, like, how the hell did they get that to happen? And if you notice the one, it's at an angle because the plane hit it at an angle. Oh, you know, man, it's all just explosives and, and all that stuff. Well, hold up a second. I thought the planes were all just like CGI, so how do they know exactly where to place these explosives? Because, it's not like they could, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, make a practice run of this, right? Because everybody would be able to catch on to, okay, well, wait, what's this plane in the sky run into the building and nothing happened? People would catch on to that being a hologram or something. So it's not like they could make a practice run of this, right? So everything would have had to have went perfectly for something like that to pull off. And again, don't get me mistaken. I do believe that the government was involved with bringing down the buildings. I do believe that. But real planes were used. Now, again, as to who was on them, where they came from, that's all for debate and conversation. We can have a discussion about that. But to sit there and say that they weren't real at all, I mean, that's just a complete level of delusion and ignorance to sit there and say something like that. Again, it shows how stupid people are today. Oh, man, it's just CGI. I mean, well, how the hell did thousands of people see the CGI? And so you mean to tell me that that thousands of civilians, they faked footage of this tragedy just to put on the internet. Like, I mean, seriously, we need to start using our brain to think for ourselves, which, SOV and SKS and thousands of other people don't want to do that. You know what I'm saying? It's really sad and pathetic. So SKS sent a comment back to me, and he said, "You mean they can't use explosives to make a hole in the tower? They pulverize the towers to their footprints. I think they can make a hole in them. Aluminum plane won't make an outline in the steel tower. Anyways, all the videos I've seen are clearly edited. It's like they show you it's all BS, just like the clone cloud pictures on the Earth." Wow, this is such an interesting and such a bizarre case right here. So look at this point. He said, all the videos I've seen are clearly edited. Well, what videos have you seen that are clearly edited? Because I'm not sure that I've seen these supposed videos that you're talking about. Because all the ones I've seen clearly are not edited. Now, if you're talking about like scene changing to scene, but I mean, that's basically every video on the internet at this point, changing from scene to scene. Like, say for instance, like if you watch the news, they'll cut from this scene to this other view, this other angle. That doesn't mean it's faked. You just don't know how things work. I mean, it's just that simple, man. So like, what do you mean by being edited? Like, the knucklehead's not intelligent enough to explain what he means by that. And about, the planes wouldn't be strong enough to pierce the outside of the tower, the metal. Well, as far as I'm aware, it would be, because remember, these planes are going like 300 miles an hour, at least 250, 300 miles an hour, in the sky, when they strike these buildings. Notice the, plane didn't go entirely through. Of course, it got destroyed when it hit it and, went inside of it, obviously. But to sit there and say like, the tower being hit, at 300 miles an hour, it would just, bounce the plane off without any damage, like a bouncy ball or something. I mean, if you think that, you're just retarded, man. I mean, that's just not how reality works. Like, say, for instance, like military ships that are made of metal, if they get hit with another metal object like a missile, or in the past maybe a cannonball or something, that's going to do damage to the metal, even though they might be both made of metal. It's going to do damage to both the objects, not just one of them. But they make it look like, it was just the plane that would be damaged, not the tower. But wait, I thought you guys said the planes weren't real. It's just all stupidity, right? Just all complete stupidity. But I don't want to make this video too drawn out. I just wanted to go on a quick rant about that, because I was just thinking the other day about how, ignorant and stupid this was. Because I saw the video I did with Solve, like it popped back up in my recommended, so I gave it a rewatch, and I was just intrigued when I saw that comment in the comment section when I listened to what Solve had to say, so I just want to do a quick video in response to that. But anyway, I'll wrap the video up there.